We spoke a lot last week about who needed this game more between Georgia and Clemson. Now we know the outcome. How would you describe the significance for Clemson of that defeat Saturday night?
Well, Greeny, it was a major hit, not just because they lost, but because of how they lost. Look, Georgia's defense is legit. I think we all know that. But the truth also lies somewhere in between. Clemson's offensive line has some major issues they have to fix. Clemson wasn't just hurt by that loss, though, Greeny. They were hurt by the fact that North Carolina and Miami were also big losers on week 1 because Clemson doesn't have any other ranked opponents during the regular season. As we sit here right now, they need somebody from the Coastal Division to give them a ranked opponent in that ACC championship game, because I'm telling you right now, a one-loss Clemson as an ACC champ, based on what we saw last night, is not a lock for the top 4.
Well, so Paul, I'll come to you. For exactly that reason, you told me Friday Clemson needed this game more than Georgia did. Is Clemson done? Here we are, Labor Day. Is Clemson's chance of getting into the college football playoff already behind?
They're at DEFCON 1, Greeny, and it's really not their fault. They played a good game against a great team. Well, let me back up a second. You had two great teams playing each other, and you got a result of essentially a tie game with 1 pick 6. However, that wasn't the problem. They could have survived a narrow loss to Georgia. They couldn't survive a wipeout, and I'm talking about total massacre of their league. And last night they had one last shot, and it fell by the wayside, and they really have nowhere to go, Greeny. They can do all the screaming and hollering they want, but they've got a terrible league around them, and they're stuck in it.
And so then let's talk about Clemson itself, Marcus, because for a moment in time there, it felt like college football was Alabama and Clemson, and then we'll see about the rest of it. All of a sudden, there's Alabama, and they look as good as ever before. And here's Clemson now. We just put up those results. Their last few big games have not gone well. Where are we with Clemson right now?
Gee, I hope the window has not closed, but it's looking like it. And look, this is not just about recruiting. Dabo and that staff are still going to recruit at a high level, but there needs to be some evolution, especially with this offense. And I remember sitting there at SEC Network when Nick Saban hired Lane Kiffin. All right, that was a line of demarcation because Nick Saban decided I need to have the ability to put up 50 points a game. And that was the evolution that they made. And right now, Clemson offense looks anemic. It looks too dependent on stars as opposed to schematically being able to get some things going. When you look at that Georgia game, and we all expected Georgia defense to be really good, but when you look at what Clemson was doing, it was so predictable. And it was so Clemson for the last 5-6 years that we've seen. But in that time, you had Deshaun Watson, you had Trevor Lawrence, you had Travis Etienne, you had Higgins, you had all of these players that could overcome that. They are beyond that point now. Because what happens in college football, and P-Town knows this, we've talked about this 1,000 times. P-Town is what I call Paul Finebaum for everybody.
Sure.
If you don't figure out that next wave, and the bottom line is that is what has made Nick Saban Nick Saban. I'm going to be a year and a half, 2 years ahead of where everybody is because I see it faster than everybody. And I think Dabo is at that point now where he has to figure out from an offensive standpoint how they can be explosive.
Well, let me come to you on that thought, P-Town, because we did see in a weekend filled with upsets, Nick Saban, they look better than ever, and Bryce Young looked better than ever. How would you describe what you saw from Alabama Saturday afternoon?
It was brilliant, and I know people are tired of hearing praise for Nick Saban in Alabama, but there was no drop-off. We're talking about going from Mac Jones to a young man who had never started a game. He was flawless, Greeny. And, yeah, you can argue that he wasn't playing a great team, but Miami came in ranked. We heard all the hype, and once again, Miami underwhelmed us, but Bryce Young was nearly perfect. And that sets Alabama up. Now, they do have a more difficult schedule than the aforementioned Clemson. They go to Florida in 2 weeks. They have Texas A&M in 6 weeks. They will probably see Georgia at the end. So they have a bigger challenge, but I don't think anybody's too concerned right now in Tuscaloosa.
No, and to the point that you made earlier, they probably could more easily afford to slip up somewhere and sustain one defeat than Clemson can at this point. So, Heather, we're 1 week in the books now. There's still a game tonight, but 1 week behind us. Give me your top 4. Who do you see as the top 4 teams in the country, Heather Dinich, right now?
Right now, after this week, I have Alabama at #1 for obvious reasons. I put Ohio State ahead of Georgia. Shocking, I know, but I think that their skill players around C.J. Stroud are phenomenal and that their offense looked better than Georgia's, even though Georgia's defense was better. And at #4, shocking, Cincinnati. I'm sorry, Sooners. I know I gave you love last week, but you didn't look like a top 4 team in the opener. Spencer Rattler wasn't great. Desmond Ridder, he was. 4 passing touchdowns, 1 rushing touchdown. Keep it there.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.